quick review of last week's episode and this week's TESOL topic. Next on Hopewell TESOL. Let's go. Let's freaking go. Let's go. Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of Hopewell TESOL. My name's Chris Hopewell, and I'm your TESOL guy. Here at Hopewell TESOL, it is our mission to make English teachers better at teaching English, and to supply English language teachers with enough basic TESOL knowledge to confidently enroll in an English language teaching certificate program, should they choose to, if that's their thing. Time to review last week's episode. Last week, we talked about the characteristics of young language learners. We said young learners have short attention spans. They get bored quickly. Can you blame them? So they need a variety of activities and more physically active and playful periods of study. Young learners are usually less shy than adult learners. They are willing to put themselves out there. God bless them. Young learners love praise. Who doesn't? So basically try to make them feel special. Young learners love routine. They do very well in structured, ordered environments. And young learners have great imaginations. Imagine that. So teachers should try to let them use their creativity as much as possible. And young learners are a little less disciplined than adult learners. So they need more attention. And young learners probably didn't choose to take the class. They are told to take the class by their parents. So they might be a little less motivated to learn. Today's TESOL topic is, here we go. Let's do it. Let's go. The 5 hypotheses of Stephen Krashen's theory of second language acquisition. Woo! Shout out Stephen Krashen. Shout out Stephen Krashen. Let's do this. Stephen Krashen's first hypothesis is the acquisition learning hypothesis. And this is the most fundamental of Stephen Krashen's theories. It has a lot to do with the idea of accuracy and fluency. Basically, accuracy would be speaking with very few grammar errors, and fluency would be speaking for longer periods of time with flow and control. That's basically. It's good to have both, but a lot of students only have one or the other. So, in the acquisition learning hypothesis, there are 2 independent systems of second language acquisition performance. The acquired system, acquisition, and the learned system, learning. Krashen considered acquisition the more important system. Acquisition is done subconsciously, similar to how children acquire their first language. So this requires meaningful interaction in the target language. This is about natural communication. This is about fluency, not accuracy. This is knowing language, not necessarily knowing about language. And acquisition stresses informal situations where students can develop a grammatical feel. Like I said, Krashen considered learning a less important system. Learning is a conscious process and is about conscious knowledge. Grammar rules are very important. And instead of knowing a language, students are required to know a lot about a language. This is about formal situations. Okay, Krashen's second theory is the monitor hypothesis. This is about the relationship between acquiring and learning, and explains how learning influences acquisition. Here, the monitoring function is the practical result of learned grammar. Because the student has learned about grammar, the student can now monitor and oversee their own language output. Here, the acquisition system is the utterance or the speech initiator. And the learning system is the monitor that plans, edits, and corrects utterances before, during, and after they're uttered. Uttered is a funny word. Now, it's important to note that monitoring or self-monitoring can only happen when 3 conditions are met. Number 1, the learner has time to monitor themselves. 2, the learner can focus on form and correction. And 3, the learner knows the particular grammar rule. Now, the role of the monitor should be minor, and students should try to let their speech flow and develop their fluency. Krashen held that there were 3 types of monitor users. Number 1, overusers. These people are usually introverts, perfectionists, and sometimes lack self-confidence. Number 2, underusers. These are usually extroverts. They feel like they don't need the help. And 3 are optimal users. They monitor themselves, but not too much, and try to be in the moment as much as possible. And Krashen's third theory is the input hypothesis. This is about acquisition, not necessarily learning. This holds that humans acquire language in only one way, by understanding messages, or by receiving comprehensible input. Really, we acquire knowledge when we are given new input, new information, that is only slightly above our level, which Krashen called I+1. I is the student's current level, and 1 is the next stage of language acquisition. For example, if students are high beginners, it would be best to give them low intermediate input. Or if students are upper intermediate, it would be best to give them low advanced input. This is based on the idea that speaking fluency cannot be taught directly. It must happen over time. It must be acquired. Essentially, the best way to teach speaking is through comprehensible input. So accuracy is delayed over time as the learner understands more and more input. What's the point here? Natural communicative input is the key to good syllabus design. So teachers, please keep I+1 in mind. Krashen's fourth theory is the affective filter hypothesis. This is about the mental block that is caused by affective factors that prevent input from reaching the student or by being understood by the student. These factors could be motivation or self-confidence or anxiety. Students with high motivation, self-confidence, a good self-image, and a low level of anxiety are probably better equipped to learn a second language. So low motivation, low self-esteem, and debilitating anxiety can raise the affective filter and form a mental block that can stop or hinder comprehensible input, I+1, from being used for acquisition by the students. As teachers, we want to create fun, safe, anxiety-free learning environments that make students feel good about themselves and get them to where they want to go as fast and as painlessly as possible. And Krashen's fifth theory is the natural order hypothesis. This claims that the acquisition of grammatical structures follows a natural order, which is predictable. Some students acquire these structures early, some students acquire them late. And this order seems to have nothing to do with age, first language, or study history, or natural ability. So syllabuses should not be based on this idea of a predictable order. Syllabuses should always be based more on students' individual needs than particular linguistic theories. Okay, my friends, that's it for today's episode. I hope it helps you to better understand the 5 hypotheses of Stephen Krashen's theory of second language acquisition. If indeed this episode was useful, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. And I'll see you next week for another episode of Hopewell TESOL. Or TESOL, or TESOL, or TESOL. TESOL, TESOL, TESOL. And remember, if you want it to go well, you gotta hope well.